Welcome to the Innovation Forge. And first I wanted us to cover a topic. This is going to be one of the more complicated topics probably, just because it's a lot of exports and filters. But just since we are talking about decisions, let's go ahead and build maybe a starter export. Behaviors with decision date. And we're probably going to do some formulas. And we're going to add an export. So let's do a subquery export. This gives us a little bit more flexibility of how we're going to pull this data. And maybe we want to join to form responses. And let's do form responses that are coming from that person data table. I typically like doing these all forms and events because we can continue to add filters to the specific types of events or specific folders that you're interested in. It also allows you to copy and repurpose that export or filter for different, maybe on campus versus virtual versus off-campus events. So I typically just do all form and events. And let's go, I'm just going to name this specifically person form responses. And this is the actual join that we're renaming, just to make it a little bit clearer when you are adding filters and exports, what kind of data table path you're using here. And we're going to join from form responses to the form, because there's going to be a lot of information that lives on the form itself and not the form response. And this could be things like templates, folders, event dates, things like that. So let's add a comparison filter here. And we're going to compare, let's see, form start date. So this is the date of the event and the time, but we're going to be more concerned about the day, really. And we're going to make sure that we want to count any events that were happening before the student deposited. But there are going to be a group of students who you're probably analyzing who didn't deposit. So we're going to use a separate deadline for them. So maybe it's the May 1st deadline to commit or enroll or deposit, whatever your institution calls it, for that population. Because as a student matriculates or deposits, they're probably getting new emails. There's probably new events that are happening for them. So we only want to count these kind of post-admission, pre-deposit window of events, engagements, behaviors. So we want to count form start dates that happen. Let's just do less than or equals to. And this is going to be one of the trickier exports that we build here, because we're going to nest inside of this the decision date, but also that deadline date. So we're just going to do deposit created, and then we're going to coalesce that with maybe like a 5, 1, and then around. So we're going to use this coalesce, which just means we're going to stagger exports. And if the first export does not exist, it'll go to the second export. If the second export does not exist, it'll go to the third export. We're just going to do 2. So let's do decision, deposit. We're just going to do created date. And then we're going to build that really evergreen deadline, because you might be pulling multiple years of data, or you might not want to update this every year, especially if you have a lot of exports that you're probably building, maybe tens, hundreds of exports if you're doing like an engagement score or an enrollment model. So it's definitely easy to just let Slate do kind of that heavy lifting. So we're going to do another formula here. And we're going to concatenate, and this just means we're going to splice together several either data pieces or strings of text. We put that in a parentheses. And we're going to leave a little bit of space for our year. And we're just going to say, maybe we're going to use, let's say, 0501. 05 being May, 01 being the first day of May. And we're going to add another nested export. Sorry, y'all. We're going a little deep on this one, but the automation here really does help if you are building a score or a model. And we just want the left 4 of the round. And this is also is just going to assume whatever your naming convention is for your rounds. If it's 2024 regular decision, or if it's regular decision 2024, then you'd want to do the right 4. So we're going to do another formula here. And we're just going to do left. We're going to leave space for our data. And we're just going to say we want the 4 leftmost characters. So we can just do round name. I'm going to join from our application to our round data table. And then if we do the @ symbol, we get our drop downs of our exports here. So I want the left 4 characters of our round name, which is going to be the year that the student is applying for. And we can save that. And again, if your naming convention doesn't work with rounds, maybe you have a prospect term or an application term that you can use. And we'll just do that @ symbol. So if this is 2025-0501, we're going to compare our form start date essentially to this. And we can just give this a date value. So we have this. So if the decision created date exists, give us the date, and if not, give us that adaptive enrollment deadline. So we're going to say if the event start date is less than or equal to that deposited /deadline, and we're just going to maybe call this event before deposit or deadline. So when we are, maybe we're doing an aggregate where we're counting the number of events that the student could be attended or registered, that's going to happen before the deadline or the deposit. So we're just going to go count events. And we'll do some additional filters here in a little bit. I just wanted to show, this is just going to show the number of events, how we're going to build this coalescing date throughout these videos. So we can just save that as an export.